Okay, I've got top of the hour here. On the West Coast, it's 11 a.m. East Coast, we're 2 p.m. So good morning to those on the West Coast, and good afternoon to the rest of us across the country. We've got a good number of people participating today, and today's topic is getting the most out of templates in Training 3.0. We recently put out a survey, and I'm going to send that link out a little bit later in the session. We'd like your feedback as well, but we sent out a link asking our customers, what do you want to see in 2016 when it comes to training? And our top three areas, modules that people want to learn more about are training, reports, and maintenance. So that's going to be our focus for the first quarter and probably the first half of the year, actually. And we also want to bring in some things on safety analytics and response analytics because we're getting a lot of requests on that as well. But today, our focus is going to be on the templates, what exactly templates are in the training module. My name's Tom Lewis. I'm the Department of Defense and International Trainer with Emergency Reporting. With me today is Mark Yaden, also a Department of Defense and our regional trainer out of Washington State. So Mark, it's good to have you with us. Also want to do a shout out to the office. We've got Sarah and Sydney and some of the development team joining us today. So it's good to have them on board, and always nice to have a good team behind you, so we can make this a very good and smooth flowing training session today. For everybody across the country, thanks for joining us. That's me. 22 years of fire service experience. Been using emergency reporting, as many of you that have joined us before. I've been using it since 2004, and I've been a trainer with emergency reporting since 2011. Mark's been has 40 years of experience with a variety of agencies, from volunteer to career. He's been using ER since 2006, and he became a trainer with us last year. So he and I have been able to do quite a few on-sites together. We make a pretty good team, if I do say so myself. Speaking of training, this was our last regional training event last year at the Presidio of Monterey in California. As you all know, we do regional training conferences, on-site training specific to departments, and of course online training that's geared just like Virtual Thursdays, but we can customize them and set them up specific for your department. Our first regional training conference that is on the books as we speak will be May 23rd through the 25th of this year, of course, in Spokane, Washington. More details are coming. We're going to have 2 or 3 other regional training conferences that we're going to be announcing very soon. So stand by for news on that. You'll see that as probably both on the login page and also in an in-system announcement. So stand by for that very soon, probably within the next couple of weeks. You'll hear more areas across the country where we're going to be having these training conferences. Okay, so where to find the latest info? You guys know that clicking support on any page will take you to our knowledge base, but it will also take you to news and announcements. And so some of these come over as in-system alerts at the top of your page. You'll notice something new occasionally pop up, like this announcement for today's Virtual Thursday. In the event that those announcements go away, which they do after a week, you can always go into the news and announcements and see, well, the past 2 years worth of system announcements. But what you'll want to do is focus on the most recent ones, of course, and that's the way to get it in case you say, I wanted to sign up for that class, but it's off my screen now. Either you moved it out, you closed it out, or a week has gone by and it's no longer on the screen. This is the place to get it. So support, and then it'll take you to our knowledge base page, and within that page, if you click on the link news and announcements, you'll be able to get caught up on everything. We always like to welcome. We have either new or upgraded customers in between our Virtual Thursdays, and very pleased to say that we have 27 new or upgraded customers since our last Virtual Thursday on December 17th last year. So if you are one of those new customers, or if you recently upgraded your account, thank you very much. If you're new, welcome to the emergency reporting family. We're real confident that you're going to like our system. And those of you that have been longtime customers, thank you for sticking with us. We hope to continue to serve you for years to come. Okay, before we launch into the objectives today, I'm going to launch a poll, and the poll is going to be some topics for Virtual Thursday training that we're going to look at for second and third quarter. We have a lot built for first quarter already, and you may have seen that in your email messages coming from our team. But we just want to get a little, from those of you that are participating today, we just want to get kind of a feel for the areas that you'd like to see more training on. So let me go ahead and launch that poll. We'll take a few seconds. And so just simply pick one of those answers. So if you look at that list, what would be your #1 choice for Virtual Thursday topic? Okay, we've got setting up PPE and maintenance, and know that the optimal way to set up PPE is by not only our maintenance, but also through safety analytics with the PPE ensembles and management there. Our reports module, best practices, permits in the occupancy module, inspections in the occupancy module, or deep diving through the administration module. So take a minute. We got about half of you have voted, so just click on the one that just says, you know, this is one we want to learn more about, and it'll help guide us and drive what the topics are going to be in the quarters 2 and 3 throughout the year. And thanks to your feedback, some of you may have participated in our other survey, and I will put that one up too in the chat box. It's a SurveyMonkey survey, and it's you can actually write in some different answers there too. So I'll put that up. All right. Let's see, almost everybody's voted. I'm going to go 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 5, 4, 3, 2, and I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. And just as quick sample, looks like the #1 topic is setting up PPE and maintenance and safety analytics. That's good. That's really, actually, it's a lot of fun, especially once you get that part of our system working the way you want it. It is a really great way to track PPE for individuals in your department. Looks like the runner-up is going to be inspections within the occupancy module. So, okay, this is good. So the last thing I'm going to do, and you don't have to do it now, but if I don't put it up here while I'm thinking of it, I'll probably forget. So I am going to put in the chat box, okay, a link to SurveyMonkey. If you could, you don't do it now. We can do it, you know, when you're done with today's survey. But copy and paste it into your web browser, or click directly from the chat window, and this will take you to a survey where you can pick specific modules, and then also give some comments and feedback on some of the specifics that you'd like to see. And so we often think we know what we need to be teaching, but it's better if we just ask. And that's what we're doing with this survey, is finding out exactly where the greatest needs are out there to help you get the most out of our system. So let me go ahead and close that poll, and we'll press on with the today's topic. So thank you everybody for participating in that poll. That's actually some really good insight. It kind of reinforces some of the things we were thinking about, and can help drive future training. So definitely look for training on the maintenance module, PPE, and safety analytics coming up here probably March, April. Okay, so today we're going to focus on how you add templates to Training 3.0 and what templates are all about in the system. How they work, okay, the whole functionality, what's the point behind templates, the advantages of using templates, and creating templates from classes. Because if you have a class, somebody's already put the class in the system, then, and you like how they built it, you can make a template from it instead of having to go through all the keystrokes and mouse clicks. And I was just reminded that I had set my chat window to organizers only. So here's that link I promised you guys. Sorry about that. And that's the link you can go to the training request survey. And then we'll build a class from a template, and see the hard work. You'll see the hard work here on the front end is going to save you a lot of time on the back end, and that's what we want to focus on. Is this is going to seem like a lot of work at the beginning, but once you've got these templates created, all future classes are going to be a piece of cake. All right, and if you ever need training, give a shout out to Nicole. Here's her email address, nicole.beard@emergencyreporting.com. And she's our training coordinator, and she will help you with setting up any of your training needs. Now let's get out of the PowerPoint and into the system. Okay, so of course we're logged in, and we are logged in and ready to jump over to training module. So here we are. So templates. In a nutshell, guys, what templates are all about is the ability to basically pre-configure all the key settings and data points for classes so that you have a quality and consistency of data when you're doing repeating or recurring classes in your department. Okay, so instead of freelancing and building classes from scratch here, okay, and we have a typo that we need to, so any of you that are particular OCD out there like me, you'll notice we have to correct that. We have to put a C in there. It used to be there and it will be back soon. It took a little vacation this winter. It must have got cold and hibernated. But here is where you can create a class from scratch. So what you do is you put in the class, you put in today or yesterday and 0900, and we'll just do a single class. So when you add that class, everything is blank and you have to fill it all in. So imagine if you have your company officers all doing, an 1 3/4 single story fire attack with supply, and they all go in and complete this from scratch. They may be putting in different training codes than you, the training officer or the company officer, may expect across your department, or the chief might expect. So in order to kind of preclude that from happening, we've got the ability to have templates. And so here you add a class template. So what I am doing is I'm creating a boilerplate, a template for future classes. And I'm going to create, in this case, I am going to actually create this template from scratch. But you can see I could create a new template from another template. So you have that option. But what I want to do is walk you through a fresh template right from the beginning. So you can see as you're building these, this would be, I would say, the hardest way to do this. And it's not even that hard, but it requires the most keystrokes and mouse clicks. But then after you've built those templates, then you're going to be in wonderful shape. So I'm going to create it from scratch. We're going to call this one Annual Extrication Update. We're going to click Add Template. So what I'm going to get is what looks just like a class. But it's important to know here, I'm not creating a class, I'm creating a template. Okay, and there'll be one other thing that I'm going to mention and show you as we move forward when it comes to templates that are really important, because if you're going to be using JPRs, templates are an integral part of JPRs. You really cannot use JPRs without building templates and then building classes from templates. So if you've ever kind of been on the fence on whether you want to use templates or not, I think once I show you their functionality within JPRs, I'm going to probably make a believer out of you, and you'll start doing all of your classes from templates. Okay, so just like in the incidents module, red means something's required, green is good, and here there's nothing required on the files page, but I'm going to show you why it's good to put things there. So Annual Extrication Update, and in fact, I'm going to title this, and then I'm going to leave it Annual Extrication Update, because then when I actually build the class, I can title it for the year, the month, or whatever I'm doing, but all of the other data points I'm entering here will be automatically filled in. So in this case, we're going to call this, let's see what the categories we have. We'll call it Fire for the main class category. Now the station here, I would leave blank, and the reason I say I leave it blank here is because we're creating a template. We're not creating the actual class. And then the actual class itself, this field, station, and because I'm zoomed in, it pops up and disappears fast, but this doesn't mean the location of where the class is being held. It's the day book for that station where this item, this class would get populated. So this is a template, not a class. So I leave this blank. When I go create the class from this template, that's when I can select the station. It will require an evaluation method, none, written, subjective, manipulative. We know for an annual extrication update, we're probably going to have a hands-on and maybe even a written test. Here, if you know that every time you have an annual extrication update, you're going to have the same instructor, you can add an instructor, but you'll notice it is not a required field. It's not red, so we can leave that one. We can leave that one alone, which I would recommend in this case only because you may have different instructors. Resources here, this is good, especially if, like, we've got the car prop, classroom, things that you would need. And think when you look at the resources here, what you want to think about is you as the instructor, you probably have done this class and you know what you need and everything. But if someone else comes along and is the instructor, this is a nice list you can create for them using this template, kind of as a checklist of the things that they're going to need uh, for the class itself. And then you can see, the different items listed here. Again, this is just kind of a test list, a practice list that we use as a demonstration, but it has a couple good ones here for us that we can put in. So we'll add that. It will load the page with those resources. Then the training codes are a required field, and so this comes from tab 3 within the settings module. So on the training codes, you're going to pick the ones that are relevant, and so you can search by keyword by clicking here in the code, or in this case, I'm going to kind of scroll because I see what I've got here. So I know apparatus and equipment. Now this is all about equipment inspection, maintenance, and procedures, so that'll be part of the class. We're going to do some power tools. And then as we scroll through, and again, I want to make this as realistic, for this particular module that we have with the training codes that we put into it. Want to make it as realistic as possible. So let's see what we got for trauma. We're going to multiple casualties. We're going to do some trauma, and again, I think you all get the idea here of what we're trying to accomplish. There's plenty more I could select, but let's go with that for now. And so this extrication update, and again, this is a sample of the potential training codes. As you probably are aware when you're creating a class, if you've selected in settings that the training codes drive the total class length, you'll need to put in here. So on a typical extrication and refresher class, maybe we're going to spend an hour on inspection of the extrication tools, another hour on power tools, and then we're going to do some classroom work. Again, I'm just putting in some numbers and some times here to kind of show you how this will all work. Talking now on multiple casualty incidents. Let's see, 30 minutes on that and an hour and 30 on kinetics. Okay, so this class is a 7-hour class. Now, if there's multiple days, you would create another template. If it's a multi-day class with different topics each day, I would create, this would be day 1. Okay, and then I would repeat that process, but use different training codes for the different classes or the different content that's going to take place on days 2, 3, or 4, or however long the class is. Then, of course, the one thing that I like to do here is add standards. And so we know this is going to, for ISO, this is going to be company training. We're going to have officer training as well. Now, a question we always get is, we worry about the standards and how many hours. Just know that each standard will get applied the same amount of hours. It's not going to be like, if I check these 2 standards, we've got the 2 ISO. Each of these are going to get assigned the total of 7 hours, okay? Not 14 hours. It's not going to double up. They'll each get 7 hours. That's how our standards works. It gives you the flexibility to apply multiple standards to a single class, because in this case, you got company training, officer training. Maybe we'll be even doing some existing DO training as they pull up and stage at the scene. And so you can then filter reports by the various standards to demonstrate to ISO how many hours you've completed for these various standards that are required by ISO accreditation or even your state. So let me add those. And so we've got the standards built in. I'm going to take a quick pause here because we've got a question from Brandon about, so okay, the question is, Tom, what we want to create, let's see, we want to create the template, but the hours may differ for each class. Do I leave that blank when creating the template, or can I set it 3 hours and then change it for each specific class or session? Outstanding question. Yes, you can adjust those hours, Brandon, and everybody listening today, you can adjust those hours. So my template's going to be set like this. But let's say if, the class you're going to teach, you're going to spend more time on extrication tools. I'll show you how you can change it. Because right now I'm building that template, and then now we're going to create a class from this template. And not only that, we're going to create a recurring class from the template. So the template's fixed, okay? It's your foundation. But then when you go to create a class from it, you can change those hours. And Brandon, I'll be able to show you that here momentarily. So I hope that answers your question, and then you'll see it in action here in just a moment. Location, this field is where the actual training is going to take place. Now, if it varies, leave it blank. Let the instructor put in the location for when he creates the class. The key takeaway here for quality and consistency of training data is really all about the class template name, the category, evaluation methods, and then your training codes and standards. Setting that up takes away the guesswork for anybody who would go and create a class from, in this case, this particular template, but of course from any template. So this takes away the guesswork, and you can preserve that quality knowing that I want to make sure I capture for this type of drill, I want to make sure I capture these ISO training standards, or I want to be sure we capture these training codes. Any other questions here? All right, so that's page one of building a template. Page 2 is where you can add a file, and say you've got a document that you want them to read before the course. You can upload that document. Let me find one here that might work. Let's see. We'll put a Virtual Thursday template in here. So put today's Virtual Thursday PowerPoint into this template. And it's still uploading. And the file size, by the way, everybody, here is, I believe, 25 megs. Unlimited number of files, but 25 megs. So now, if you want them as a pre-course material to watch this, they can download that file and watch it. You can also here make it visible to everyone with access to this class, users with only full access, or users with limited or full access. And that's for this file, the viewability for this file. If for some reason it's larger than 25 megs and it's like a video link, you can add the URL. And in this case, we'll just do our home site. And you can, of course, save and add another, save and close. And so now I have my PowerPoint. I've got a video that I can direct them to watch. And I can also, and we probably won't have time to go into it today, but if those of you that have exported, you can actually add task sheets here. And task sheets are built in the training module settings. And this is a great way, if they're going to be evaluated, to have the blank template here. And again, a template within a template. You got your task sheet, a blank one. And you can add, say I'm going to just do this task sheet. What's nice is that I can open up this task sheet. Let me show you how that works. And then for each student, got to click the right one. There we go. So I've got this task sheet here that will open up in the program that's associated with it, and it's going to be Excel. And so, for example, I can have this, and it's a real rudimentary task sheet, but no, and then from here, I could actually save it as, all right, let me just, and I'm going ahead on the class portion of it, but you can save as the student name, okay, task sheet, okay, and then you can go in and password protect it if you want to, and then load it, so then only you as the instructor can see that person's completed task sheet, but not everybody else that has access to the class can go in and open someone else's score sheet. So I think, and then if anybody loses their sheet, which we often do, I need to prove that I completed this task. or for promotion or for my task book, and this is a place where it can be stored electronically as a repository, so in case the paper copy ever gets lost. Just a suggestion, and you don't do it here in the template. You would do that process once we create a class from the template, but I did want to mention that to you while I'm thinking about it here. So I hope that makes sense, but it's a neat way to just store anything that goes on with this class you can store here with the ability to kind of password protect it for other users not able to see each other's scores. Then you get to the end of the template on authorize. So those of you that have completed an incident report, it's a real similar process. If you have full privileges to the training module, you'll see this here. You can set it complete and reviewed. If you don't, you can only get it, be able to complete it. So this won't be here as reviewed. So I'm just going to go ahead and what I'll do is I'll check that. I'll complete it. And so we've got a complete template. All right. So then as you teach your firefighters, as you teach the officers, as these get built up, now we're going to go back to the training grid. And as I move across the screen, I can go over to the status of different categories here within the training grid. And I want to see just completed templates. Right? And as you can see, as we scroll down, or better still, don't scroll, because at some point you're going to have a lot of templates here. I want to look for anything that says extrication. And there it is, annual extrication update day 1. I can go in, if I have the privileges, I can print a sign-in sheet for the template. And we're going to go back to that when we create a class. But I can go in, if I have the full privileges to the training module, I can go in and edit that template if anything were to change on it. And that's done here under the authorize page. You mark this class template as incomplete. It will go incomplete, and then you can make any changes that you need. Perhaps you have an updated file, a new version that needs to be in here. You can update that, remove the obsolete version, and put the new one in here for PowerPoint or for a video link. All right, any questions so far? Very good, okay. So that is how you create a template. Now you'll notice here under templates, you may start one and not quite finish it. Now in this case, they're all completed, but one of the status filters here is the ability to view any incomplete templates. So if you say, yeah, I know I started a template, this would be the way to go, and then go back in and complete it. The list of completed templates are here, and let me clear out that. I bet we do now have some incomplete templates. Oh yes, we do. We have plenty. So all of these templates people have started but have not yet finished. And so once they're complete, then you are able to use them for a class. Don't forget your filters here, and be sure to set it when you're done looking for something specific, say completed classes, templates, complete or incomplete. Be sure to select active, because if you were to select all, it will show even your archived templates and classes, and that can clutter up your list a little bit. So keep it on active, and the default setting there is active. All right, so let's go ahead and build a class from the template. So I'm going to add a class, and I'm also going to make it a recurring class. And the class name, and one trick here is don't put the class name in first. Wait for just a second, because when you go and create a class from template down here, you select that, it will autofill with the template that you select. But what I'd like to do here is, this is going to be 2016 Annual Extrication Update, Day 1. I go ahead, and this will not affect the template, it just affects the title of the class itself. So the first class day, and you can see because I said selected recurring, the first class day is going to be, say, on the 11th at 0900, and I'm going to add the class. So now it's a little bit different, but here's the beauty of templates. All my key variables are here for me. If I'm an instructor, company officer that's been assigned to teach this, say, you know, Tom, we need you to teach this class. Mark's built this template, and just make sure you build your class from this template, and you'll have everything you need. And I do. Couple things you'll notice, we still have some reds here. Now we're in the class. Now I know that I'm station 91, so I want it to populate my daybook, station 91. I have to add an instructor. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and add Ken as the instructor. I can also type in an instructor name if I needed to, if they're an outside instructor, and in this case, he's the lead. And because this is a pretty hands-on class, we need another instructor with him. And so in this case, we'll have an outside instructor. And don't do what I did there. And this is from ERS. And he's going to be the assistant instructor. And click Save. And for good measure, we're going to have an evaluator from our department. And we'll go with Joe Cuppa. And he's going to be our evaluator. So you can have a lead instructor, co-instructor, and an evaluator. Okay, you'll notice info turned green because all of my required fields have been filled in. Now, what Brandon was saying is if for some reason we want to spend, we've got a trauma physician coming in and going to give us some kinetics of trauma, mechanism of injury, and that's actually going to wind up being 2 hours, I can change that. And because that's going to eat into another part of the class, we're going to just knock down, and you don't have to do this, you can extend the length of the class, but in this case we're limited to 7 hours, so we're going to knock that one down to 30 minutes. And our formatting here wants it to be perfect. Okay, and so now we're good. Still a 7-hour class, and because of how we set up things in the settings for the training module, we've determined that the value will be based on the training code hours. So the training codes drive the total length of the class. My ISO standards are in here. Now location, I know where the class is going to take place. It's going to be over at the training grounds, the tarmac at the training center. I'm going to save that. And the one trick here is when you're creating a recurring class, the first class requires you to have at least one person in it. So if you don't know who's going to attend, just put yourself in as the instructor. Okay, in this case, I'm just going to put John, and that way that will go green, and we're good to go. Now I'm going to schedule the class. So this is part of our, and again, I'll show you how this comes into JPRs because we're going to have time to talk about JPRs a little bit today. So here, now that I've scheduled the class, it's going to prompt me for additional dates. So what it's essentially going to do is you created a class from a template. Now you're duplicating that class across multiple days. So not only we're going to do it on the 11th, we're going to do it on the 12th at 0900. We're going to do it on the 13th, the other shift at 0900 as well. And then you're going to click schedule it. It will prompt you, are you sure you want to schedule these classes? I do. I click schedule. And now you can see here, I've got on the 11th, 12th, and 13th, those 3 classes. Now just know that the first day, it gave me the training grounds with the location and the instructor. Day 2, everything's filled in for me, but I still have to go in and select my station where I want the daybook, where I want it to populate the daybook. I need my instructor still, and then I need to add my students as well. And then of course I can authorize the class, and then the class will be completed. So that's how you create a class, and in this case, a recurring class from a template. Any questions on that? Some pretty good time savers here. Really good for capturing the quality of data that you want for each class. Because you can imagine if someone were to create this from scratch, everybody has a different idea of what standards should be applied and what training code should be applied. So that is key here on building classes from templates. Mark, was there anything you would like to add?
You know, you've done a great job on this, Tom. I just wanted to reiterate some things that you've said there, that the templates can be modified as needed at any time too. So if you want to make an adjustment to them, you can pull that up and do it once it's made. Just mark it incomplete as you showed them, and so they can be modified as you want to change that class as it goes along. And then if somebody teaches a great class and they've got it in there, they've built it from a single class, you can also select that as, and make a template out of it. So
Yep, and
you can,
that's where we're going to go next. Perfect segue.
excellent. And just the third thing I was going to just making sure that for your JPRs, then I'm sure you'll probably discuss that they do need to be completed before it would allow you to do that. So just things you've already had said there, but wanted to reiterate that, just give you the flexibility with them.
Outstanding. Oh, we do have a question from John. Okay, John. John asks, can you or how do you delete a template once in archive? Great question. It's the farthest you can go is to archive it, John. There is not a hard delete for templates. You can unarchive them, as you probably discovered, but it's kind of like deleting things from your inbox and goes into your deleted deleted folder in Outlook. Um, Unlike Outlook, you can't empty the archived templates or classes. Just the key to reduce clutter when you're viewing this is to make sure it's set to active. Now here in this case, archive, we can see these have all been archived. And so to unarchive them is to use this folder here, this icon, and it will take it out of archive status and back into regular status. But from here, this is as far as you can go for deletion.
Tom, I just had a comment on that I've seen one agency do with that.
Yeah.
And I did run across an agency that didn't want anything in that file. They wanted to keep that to a minimum, and their goal was to have none in there. So anytime somebody built a template, they would training officer instructed their officers then to get in there and pick one of the archives and modify it and make it active. So
they would unarchive it. Now these when they're archived, hard to say if they are archived templates or archived classes. So you can unarchive them and then make changes. So they wanted to tidy up this particular part of the system so it wasn't stacked with a bunch of archived classes or
correct. Yeah, and they did have quite a few from test ones that they had done earlier, and so that was one thing they were able to do was move everything out of their archive just by they would go there first, grab a class or whatever was archived in there, open it up and modify it, make it active. So just one option if you wanted to reduce the number of archives that you had.
Richard has a good question. Can changing templates affect previously held classes? No. Once you've created a class and reviewed it, it will not change if you make a change to the template. Very, very good question. Yeah, it's the class itself is locked, and so unless only future classes built from that modified template will require those new changes. Good questions. Excellent. Okay, so we've created these three classes, and what I want to show you now from a template perspective is, so say here I'm going to just pick one randomly and let's see if we've got a good one. So down here we've got, I don't want to use that one. I'm going to pick test for the Presidio Monterey RTC. So we did this one back in December, and so this was a class. But as I look at this class, now this is something, say one of your guys, one of your firefighters went in and they're gung-ho, they wanted to get their training documented, but they didn't create it from a template. And again, this will come full circle here when I show you JPRs. But you liked what they did, good information, good training code selected, good standards. So we gave you the option to make a template from that class. So the class is done, but now it's kind of going, you're reverse engineering it, so to speak. You're making a template from a class. So we like what he did. And so future test, 2015 test for Presidio Monterey Regional Training Conference, we're going to keep it administration. We like this. We're going to actually add one more training code because one was missing. And again, I'll just pick one at random. It's somewhat relevant, hopefully. And there we go. because it's part of Firefighter 1 and Firefighter 2, records and reports. So we've added those. I can update the hours to reflect accordingly. We don't want this one, aircraft. We can get rid of that one. And we'll go ahead and got those in there. Got the classes. I like my standard officer training, but we're also going to put in company training too, because we're going to have some firefighters in the class. And now I have a new template that I can use for future classes. And so as I look here under completed templates, I can type in the name and get in the habit of type. Some of our modules, I believe the maintenance module will auto sort for you. This module, once you type in the field, click enter, and it will take you to the matching items. Okay, so I've got my templates in here. So now I can build a class from these templates like we did before. But just remember, especially if you have not fully implemented the training module or didn't realize or fully understand how templates work, what you've probably been doing is adding a lot of classes and just kind of freelancing. And so find your best ones and start building templates from them, because as we come full circle here now in building templates, we want to be able to use them, and this is the only way we can use them, for JPRs. So for example, and let's see what time, oh, we've got the time, so this is working out great. Before I move on, does anyone else have any other questions when it comes to managing the training grid, building training templates, or building classes from templates, or like we just did, building a template from a class? Okay, looks good. So far, so good. Good questions so far. Outstanding. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to show you here as a bonus for being with us today, and because making and building a template isn't especially hard, but the time you put into it is where you get the success later on, and this is one of those areas. So if I were to add a new JPR, so I'm going to walk you through what a JPR is here since we've got the time. JPR, when you think of it, it is a set of classes or even a single class. You can create a single class JPR that allows you to monitor the progress your troops are making towards completion of this JPR. And JPRs are series sets of classes that either during the year, month, week, tour that they have to complete, and it's a quick way to track it. So for example, I'm going to do January 2016 company training. And we're going to start at first of the month, and we're going to go to the end of the month. And this is company training. So all those are red fields, so I've got to fill them in. Now this NFPA 1500 box, I'm going to throw this out here. Now, if you have safety analytics, and I believe it is the full premier version of safety analytics, by checking this box, this will drive the gauge. This will drive the gauge in safety analytics called training. Now you can choose what the intended design of this was for any safety related training. I've been working with multiple departments, and we've come up with some cool ideas of just why not track your entire training using that gauge. Now I realize some of you listening to us today don't have the full safety analytics, so when you go here, this feature may not be here. But they were saying, well, why don't I just check this box for every JPR, because then I can go to my gauge and see where I stand on my gauge as well. And I'll show you what that gauge looks like here. So I'm going to do that. It'll be more than just safety training, but then in order for students to get credit for the class for this JPR, it has to be built from a template. So in this case, I'm going to build this month, airport stuff, and let's go perfect from cold emergencies, but it needs to be spelled correctly, but we'll fix that. And just for good measure, we'll throw in some emergency reporting training because you've got the best RMS, you might as well have some training on it each month to get better at it. So let's add that. So what I'm doing is I am setting up these essentially 5 classes that these people have to take. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick everybody on C shift. I'm going to do my check all box up here. Those of you that have worked in here, you probably know this, but this is check all. And I'm going to add. So in this case, all my C shifters, I'm building this because I'm C shift battalion, and this is my expectation from C shift this month. Now, it could be department wide. I just wanted to show you how you can filter here and pick just certain individuals. So that was all on my C shifters. Then I click save, and I have a brand new JPR. I mouse over here. Those are the templates. What that tells me is that any class that my firefighters complete that are based on any one of these templates, they will get credit for this JPR. And then you can see the progress being made here. On this line, moving across is mouse over to see what templates are required. And of course, the title of the JPR, the date range that they have to complete it, the current status of the JPR, the number of people out of the total number assigned that have completed it, the ability to edit it again if you need to, and then of course your ability to delete it. Okay, and so then it did it for me. I don't know how and why, but it did. The drop down arrow on the far left shows me the 16 people, and it will show me that how many. So this shows me how many people have completed the JPR. This one shows me their individual progress. So of those 5, remember 5 templates, they've completed none of them. But we're going to show you how this changes real quick. And before we do that, Brian's got a question. Is it possible to sort JPRs by division and not shift? Let's take a peek so I can get this right here. I don't believe we have a column for, but I'm always willing to be proven wrong. No, all we've got are rank, shift, and station. So Brian, what that would be is a feature request. So, and we'll do a quick introduction to user stories. So that would be, you tell us who you are, what you want, and why you want it. So as, and Brian, I'm going to promote you. So as a fire chief, unless you already are, as a fire chief, I need the ability to filter JPR personnel by division so that I can build JPRs for my divisions much easier. Yeah, you can go through and maybe, you know, by rank and such, but that would add another column here. It is within the realm of possibility. Within the realm of possibility, but that would have to go through our development process. But that's kind of how you talk our language and how our developers need to know what you want. And so that would be a great user story, and clearly there's a need for it if you're wondering why we don't have it. Otherwise, you'll just have to find the specific people within the division you want to add and then add them manually. Filter them the best you can with those 3 header columns and then pull them in to the JPR manually. Great question. Okay, so let's take another look here. So we got Ed and Ann, okay, and Ed Blarts, and none of them have completed anything, but we know that airport stuff, cold emergencies, and extrication update day 1 is needed. So what we're going to go do is we're going to give them some credit for a class. So here in training, I'm going to get, remember if you get in like, what, there's no date, double check your filters every time. Double check your filters. So I'm going to go back to active because it goes, when you go back to the page, it keeps the filter you had last on the system. So what I'm going to do is, and we need to make this, so bear with me because what I have, no, it should work. Let's do it. Okay, so here, what's nice is well, we took this class. You know, I could put narratives. I didn't talk about the narrative for building the class, but certainly you could put, you know, instructions, outline, syllabus right here. My files are here, and then my people. So we're going to add agency personnel, and I'm going to add all my C shifters that took the class today. Again, this is check all. I'm going to add them. And so some of you are wondering, so here's where we're going to go full circle here. We've gone from building a template, this 2016, or actually that template was annual extrication update. We then created a class from the template, but renamed it 2016 annual extrication update, day one. And then now, once we've added people, you've got a bonus here based on what you set here in settings, is in the event that somebody has to leave class early. Okay, so here's 2 hours, but he was only here for 1. We like to keep things fair in the fire service because nothing's worse than somebody getting credit for not doing something. So here, that saved John gets 6 hours, whereas everybody else gets 7. And what my process should have been, guys, my mistake, I'm going to fill this with 7, and I'm going to correct this back here. That was my mistake. The best thing to do is fill first, then update. And then you'll see his will go back to the 6. And that's why this pay grade is part of it, because it's linked to our payroll module. The functionality occurs, and our developers, way smarter than I am, they figured out how to tie this together, because that was a big request we had, was we wanted to be able to document training, but document it fairly before everybody got the same hours. But if someone had to leave early or someone stayed late, it wasn't, you know, crediting them the correct hours. So here we have it. Everybody's in, everybody else in the class has their pay grade, their hours, we're good to go. You will then get to the authorized page, and you will get a validation warning. I knew that was going to happen. Okay, the date is 1/11, so let's just fix that. So let's pretend the class is yesterday. Now I can go in. What just happened there was, because I'm trying to complete a class that's in the future, it won't let me do it. It was scheduled for the 11th, so I just changed the date so I can actually complete this class. So you'll get a validation warning that says mismatch between class hours and student hours claimed. That doesn't prevent you, as long as you get this here, it doesn't prevent you from locking the class and completing it. It's just a heads up that somebody doesn't have the same amount of hours as somebody else. And that's John. He had to leave an hour early. Okay, we're good. So then go into authorize. I'm going to actually set this as reviewed. Class looks good. Put in my password. And that class is completed. So back on my training, that class will be reviewed. One thing I need everybody to know is that if this class were today, okay, so I'm going to highlight that. Oops, they wanted to go into it. Click once just to highlight, click twice to go into it. So here, this was the 6th, it's reviewed. If it were today the 7th and I reviewed it, because we get this asked a lot, it will still show as scheduled. Once it goes to midnight tonight, it'll show as green reviewed here. It's a nuance of the system. Our team knows about it, because it can frustrate training officers. It's like, it's not scheduled, I just completed it. If it's the day of you complete it, just be patient. Once you hit over midnight, once it flips over to the next day, midnight, then you'll be good to go, and it'll show just like this one. So the class is completed, and because it was part of a JPR, remember we created it as a JPR, still none of the 16 people have completed all 5 classes, but when I expand out, all of them have completed at least 1 out of 5. And which one is it? The annual extrication. And what goes on under the hood that's really cool, say Ed took that class, but then he's working an overtime shift for B shift, and they're doing the same class. Sure, he'll get credit for the class. It'll stack on here as a second extrication class, but it only gives him credit for 1 because it just needs 1. So we had tried that out before, and that was kind of cool to discover that. So again, our developers working their magic and just making it a smart system. So that. Who knew that we'd be going over JPRs today? I knew templates wouldn't take too long, but we wanted to plan in some questions, and I believe Our next virtual Thursday, we'll probably spend even more time in templates and building them and showing you how they work. Now, the one thing I need to show you just briefly, and again, this is may not apply to all of your accounts, but here, any of those templates, those JPRs that you saw that had the NFPA 1500 in red are driving this gauge here. So I can see that I have 4 completed JPRs. Let me zoom back out. And right here I have 2 incomplete JPRs, and one of them is January 2016 company training. I can quickly see, and it'll take me right to it with one click. Paul, I got to give a shout out to Paul, our University of Texas Arlington partner. Paul, good to have you on board today. Really glad to have you here. So he wants to know, do we need to make a JPR in order to identify a single class as an NFPA requirement for safety analytics? Sure. What you would do, Paul, is just go in and add a new JPR, put your time frame in, and instead of adding multiple classes, like in this case 5, just put in one class, and it'll be 1 out of 1. And I think that's a great way to track a single class. That's essential. We always think of JPRs as a series of classes, which in most cases they are, but I'd have no trouble using a JPR to track the progress towards a single class. You can run a report on it too, but having that gauge and looking at a JPR can show you at a snapshot how that works. So does that answer your question, Paul? Paul was very instrumental, everybody, in the whole safety analytics pump panel that we have, and that's one of the next questions Bob is asking. Where did you get those gauges? Okay, so Paul Wind, who's on with us today, and our team at the University of Texas Arlington, we work together with them very closely in developing a tool to help you manage NFPA 1500. Now, before I do that, I want to make sure that all of our participants don't have any other questions related to creating templates, using templates, and then how templates really critically affect JPRs. So let me do that first, and then we'll close today in the next few minutes with the sneak peek over at safety analytics and how that ties in here. Is it possible to sort archive classes by location? Oh, good question, Jason. I don't know. Let's find out. So training. Yes, you can sort archive classes. Go into archived by location. You can filter here by high to low, or I believe, if you follow along with me, and don't hold me to this here, but under advanced search, okay, I can go by all or a particular location. So let's say I want to find out all, I could be really shooting in the dark here, but let's say we want to find out all airport station classes that were class status that were archived. So see here, I've got my advanced search. I'm in the advanced search, location, airport station, class status archived. Let's see if we have any. And of course we don't. let's see. I can change it right here. So training grounds, I have one. And so that would be the way you would want to sort it, Jason, if you wanted to either sort or search for archived classes by location. Hope that makes sense. Hey, thanks, John. And yeah, we're just a team here. We're just a team. I love doing this, and it's a real nice compliment. Thank you so much for that. I hope it was helpful. And we're not quite done. One last bonus feature, and that's only because we got Paul Wind here and Bob asked a question about those gauges. So let's jump over to safety analytics as it pertains to training and JPRs. Okay, so these 10 gauges, 11 if you count the master gauge here. These 10 gauges are how we help you manage and measure your compliance with NFPA 1500. All of you right now have the organization gauge and the wellness and behavior gauge. Those are foundational gauges for starting a really good quality safety program based on NFPA 1500. And so the full package, or the premier, which includes all 10 gauges, and the one that we were most concerned about today is the training one. By being able to select that checkbox, you can kind of track any safety related training, or again, I don't even know if I call it a workaround. I almost call it an enhancement. You could have all your JPRs feed this gauge. So at any given day, you can see what JPRs are completed very quickly, which ones are in progress, which ones are incomplete. So, and then you've got these light bars. Again, these are two that are incomplete. These are partially completed. And then these are fully completed. And just clicking through, okay, this one, I can see, yep, everybody here, Emma, Gordon, and Ron, they're done. They killed it. And it'll also show here as a complete. I got to give props to Bob Burton. He is the product owner for this. When I say product owner, he is the person responsible at emergency reporting for driving this product and getting it to as good as it is today. And there's still, as you know, with software, we're never done. So this is almost, I don't know if it's safe to say it's version 1, but it's an early release. And so more good things to come from this in the months and years ahead. So with that, we're at the top of the hour. Uh, Everybody got that link for the training. So thank you for taking part in the poll. We really appreciate that. That gave us some good feedback. Everybody got that link to SurveyMonkey to give us some more feedback on what kind of training you'd like to see. And I want to thank everybody at the office that joined in. I know Sarah, Sydney, some of our development team were listening in. So thank you guys. Also special thanks to my wingman, Mark Yaden, who's we've been on many on-site trainings this year together, and also a lot of online trainings. So it's always good to have you with me, Mark. And really, before we close, is there anything you'd like to add in regards to what we've talked about today?
I just think you've done a great job of this flyover of the training module. Like you said, it went from templates to the kind of the complete overview of it. But it is a very powerful module as we see departments setting it up. It's a big module as well. So just as I've heard Tom say many times, it's a big elephant. Take it a bite at a time and start building those templates for the classes that you have and under your settings and get it set up with your classes and categories, and as you build it along, it'll continue to grow and just become more powerful each and every year. And
And
great job today, Tom. Thank you.
yep, thank you, Mark. I'm glad you were with me today. And the two things I want to close with. I know some people have had to leave already, but we still have almost everybody still on. Two last things I want to leave you with is one. Yes, this will be recorded. Usually gets posted within a week or two onto our archive site. And in fact, make your life easier, guys. I'm going to give you that link right now. Oops, not Query Builder. You didn't see that. And knowledge base. Here we go. So I'm going to give you that link directly. I know you may have seen it, but it's always nice to just have it available. So it'll be posted. It'll be at the top of the list here. Here it comes via chat. If you want to bookmark it, guys, you can go there and get the webinars on demand. And then the other thing in closing, I know we did not go into the settings, but if you are relatively new to the system or you're frustrated with how your training module is set up, spend some time here and get these first 3 tabs set up really nicely. It's paramount that these 3 tabs, especially the first and third one, are set up well. And then over here is where you can add task sheets, what we talked about. You can load them here. And then, of course, you can set your standards as well to apply to each class. And then, heck, we didn't even get into reports yet that you can pull from. And that'll be a future class. I believe our next 2 virtual, at least our next one, but maybe even the next 2 virtual Thursdays are going to cover the training module even more. So you got a little sneak peek of JPRs that we're going to cover again. So hopefully we'll see you in a couple weeks. Be safe, and if there's nothing else, we'll just bid you a very good day, and thanks for being with us. All right, Rich is got a question. All right, if I edit any of the information in the first 3 tabs, will there be an issue with previously created classes? Shouldn't be a problem. What you'll do is you'll notice here under like class categories, you'll be able to edit it, but you won't be able to delete it. Okay, you won't be able to delete it. So if you have a class tied to it, you're going to have to park that class. See how the trash can's subdued? It means there's a parent-child relationship here, which means this is the parent, there's a child. Can't get rid of the parent until you either change the child to another parent. But you can edit it though, and then from there on out, it'll be filtered as that new title. All right, Mark. Thanks again. We will talk soon, and have a safe couple weeks, everybody.